They also have a 12 column grid system, but as you can see, this right now, if you use Flexbox, whatever columns you want, the common words, so the answer is still 12. But to give you an example, here is not 12. It's like you can see, use the 1, 2, 3. This is a 4 grid column, right, and a third. So it's a 3. If you 1, 2, 3 here, actually this is all 4. Okay, 4 here. So you can say this take up 1/4, this take up 3/4, but it's automatic. You see, the second part is automatic. This take up 1/3, and the other 2, because there are 2 of them, it's automatic. So to code the web for the future, you do have to know Flexbox. So this is time. If I give it earlier, it would have been a little bit stressful.
Is it also responsive?
Yeah, it is responsive. So it's pretty sweet. It only works for the bigger screen. So then, you know, there's.
Can we locate an element in a specific column?
Can you locate? Yeah, you just put that. This is a div, and you put it inside this div. Anything you put inside that. What do you mean locating?
So I have a div. I want to locate column 16.
You want to look at column 16 on this page? Are you building a game? That's very complicated, no? But of course you can, all right. So here is the 12 column grid, and you can, instead of say is 1/4, you know, some people may prefer, I like to put a number. So people coming from the Bootstrap world may be like, nope, you know, 4 out of 12, easy. I say is 4, then it's that. Then the rest you can say, yeah, is 1, is 2. So you can specify as many as you can. And if you want to do 16, I advise you to just think really carefully.
Can I allocate column 12?
Yes. So you can create a blank one like this, not doing anything, and then you put another one here. So this is positioned at column 12. Awesome question, but not 16, because then it will be like, you know, pretty hard. And this another way is that an is offset. So if you have one column, but then you say put it at the 12th position, I would just put an empty div. But then if you want, you can say column 12, right? Let's say is 12, and then you say is offset, is 1, and then is offset 11. It means it'll skip the first 11 squares and then go to the 12th one. Wow.
So basically, the grid system is the coordination system in the web.
It's like coordinate. It's a layout system to help you put things horizontally and vertically without, you know, too much headache. This is horizontal, but when you do it down here, this is become vertical, and then it's very similar to the mobile experience. So it's make it easier to develop web and mobile, right? So the question?
Still, I guess, up-to-date.
It is very up to date, and it's now the most popular one. So I think it's quite solid to use. They try quite hard, but I'm going to give you a few gotchas, right? So last week I started looking into this, so you know, just looking into it a little bit. Now I can give you a better onboarding experience. So I'll help you save a lot of time. So for most of you, use this and try to be good at this. If you think that you want to do something else, by all means. But if you use this, we will support you the best, the easiest way. Obviously, right now in this room, probably only I have checked it out a little bit, but I can definitely, you know, everyone can become an expert easily.
This is easy to use. How about the ability of modification?
Yeah, so it's you can use it as a CSS file, single CSS file, and just use it. Probably work for a lot of our fun projects. If you want, you can use the SaaS version, and you can customize the variables. So you can read the customization. But don't customize in crazy ways, but you know, customize things that maybe you can do more than 12 columns. You can, probably you can change it to 16. I can't think of anything crazy. I normally try to do things non-crazy, so I'm not very creative.
I just asked because it's something you have city columns.
Yeah, and some exactly. So it's good. Semantic is quite comprehensive. So interesting, like you see this responsiveness. By default, columns are only activated from the medium screen onwards. So if you drag it down, it will become columns, right? That. However, right, if you want the columns to work on mobile, you have to put ease mobile here, right? So just one class is
If you don't want it to stop, then
yeah, exactly.
then you add
Because mobile screen is treated differently, where like you normally should not make it too noisy. If you build a mobile app, you know what I mean. You normally don't put like, you know, this input next to each other on it. You probably just have one, the user scroll down. So this is rarer, right? This is sometimes you want to do it for the profile picture here, and then the other part is the profile description. But the rest of the time is just single column, right? So that's responsiveness at is mobile, yeah. And then if you only want it for the really large screen, that's is desktop, right? So this is a large screen. You see that large screen? Any tablet screen, it becomes normal again. So you can choose the two extreme. When do you build this is desktop? You may build a very big table for your company data, admin dashboard. You build something that's a big table that that you want people to see a lot on one page. Maybe this page can be displayed on the big screen, and this page can be very complicated. But if this page is for your user to use, like normally you don't want anything more than 2 columns really. 3 is the most. Facebook is 3, and that's pretty much the most. The rest is 2. So that's the idea. People even do like a lot of white space here, and there's 1 column like this, so people have that experience to digest the content. So that's the grid. Any questions about grid? I just saved you a lot of time understanding grid. Awesome. This is a cool thing where you see like how can you display something like this as a grid, and you can just look into this and do it yourself. And the idea here is called nested columns, right? So first, how do you do the first 2 columns? Simple. You just have columns and columns. But inside this column down here, you can have the first word, and then you can have the second one as columns like that. Okay.
So I think the difference is the S, right? Columns or no?
Yeah, columns is the wrapper. It's a container, and inside you have these columns. If you learn Flexbox, then this is the guys that they say display flex. You only learn display inline, display block so far, inline block as well, but display flex is like that. There's a new technology called display grid. It's also in the browser. Not everything, but it also makes things even easier to put things in a grid. Flexbox make it easier to put things horizontally, vertically, but then now you have something called grid. But let's not learn that one yet. Flexbox is now the most popular on the web, and it's really good. Okay, so to look into this, and some elements here you can see code, wrap it around that looks like code here. There's no surprise there, right? Oh wow. All right. There is an occasion when you don't want the gaps. I'm disappointed some people did not ask. Do you see all this margin? It's also, these are called the gap or the gutter, right? This gutter and gap, they are nice a lot of times because automatically you have the margin. But some other times you actually don't want the margin, then you want these gapless stuff, yeah? I also don't want this border radius stuff. You see all this little thing? You could just set border radius to 0, and it will look prettier than these things, right? I think it's pretty exciting, guys. Whew. All right. Yeah. So this is there's some cases where Flexbox also smart enough it can resize based on the content. So let's say you probably don't use this very much. But here's an idea: is that this column, you can set the width yourself, right? Inside here, and then it's narrow. Will just shrink to the content. So if you have an image, you can shrink there. All right. I'm done with columns. What else? What else are we looking into? So if you remember, we have this container class outside the yield. Did anyone notice that? It's quite nice because when you put a container around things, it adds the margin around the yield content, but it's only for the big layout. So responsive, when you go inside, then the container thinks it doesn't do anything anymore. So it's useful, and one of the things I look for is, okay, for beginners, having a container is useful, and it's optional. A lot of frameworks don't use container. They say, why don't you just create a div and add some pattern yourself, right? Hey, but if you have a container, everyone can do it the same way. It's nice. Okay, so there's container and container fluid that you guys can use this is Bootstrap is called container fluid. Here's container is fluid, right? It will have the gap. You see the gap right outside, and then when you shrink for fluid, the gap increases, like depending on your decrease or increase. But so fluid here keep the margin all the time. This container, it will be the same all the time, different. So it will explain here. It will have a default value where if you see it when you use a container, it's like a margin 60 pixel. It's not a real example of container here, huh? Yeah, this is container, and it's kind of nice, just different. A lot of people like the fluid one better, so it depends on your use, really. I can't tell from this small example. Sorry, your question?
Exactly what you were doing. I was wondering what it looked like if you were.
Yeah, well, try it. In this case, I'm very familiar with Bootstrap container class, but not this guy container. I hope they do the same thing. Quite similar. Hero is similar to that Jumbotron thing in Bootstrap, and it's not something you use a lot, right? Very rare, but when you need to, it's gonna be quite nice. And so you have a hero. It's like a component when you display something that's a large card to the user. Think of, okay, I use a hero. It's like the landing page, the home page that display, the big message to say what the app does. So think about hero like this. Okay. Yeah? Yes. So that's a card is another thing that we all want. Like we use it a lot, right? However, a lot of Bootstrap, CSS framework also say people want different card design, and they make it flexible for you to do it. For me, just like Rails, I want to choose something that has everything, so that when I'm too lazy to style, I have it. So Bootstrap 4 has cards. Bootstrap 3 doesn't, and then people wrote all the plugins for it. This guy also have card. So I just mentioned very quickly. You could use a section here. A section is just like a div. It's just a div, container. But it's kind of nice when you implement a long page with different sections. What we do, about our page, why we're here, about our team. So that's section view. Okay. Now footer. Obviously, again, they use the HTML5 ability to customize the name of your component. So it's called section footer. You could use div, but in this case, they use footer. So just use it like that and make sure that the style is consistent. So the elements you're asking is under components. So when I'm looking for a CSS framework, I look for the component. I want you to think, what are your favorite components? Because normally with HTML, you have a div, and you can style it any way you like. You can float it to the left, float it to the right, do it just like width, height, have this image inside, have image outside. But that is quite wrong, to be honest, right? There are too many ways to display something. If you do mobile app, again, they're very strict. You only have a few components you can put in there, and that's it. And it creates a better experience. So for the web, let's try to do the same thing, right? Over time, now you see the way the web technology is going, React JS, right? It's around components, and you want to think of what you put on the page as a component, not just as this really a bunch of divs. So let's look at this page itself. I have this one as a component. That's a navbar component. I have this one right here. It's more like a hero-like component. Down here, I have this tab component, right? Or navs, but then sometimes I call it tabs, so it's tabs. And then in each tab, right, I have each of these as a section, right? And then here, example here, it's probably like a component that display this. It look, I don't know what it is in here yet. It's similar to a message, but it's not. So we'll see. And you see this little thing, red, blue, green. These are like the label, the tag component. So I think they have here as tag or label somewhere. So we'll take a look. All right, breadcrumb is not common, but when you have it, it's really nice. When you go to a page, go into another page, documentation website have this a lot. So you can go to the parent, here. GitHub browse files, you may have this, right? Remember the file browser you built in week 2? So you could use this to go into a directory and directory, right? Now, breadcrumb is nice, but the key thing I look for is a card, a drop-down, because the HTML drop-down is quite ugly. If I want to send a message to a friend, then maybe a drop-down is nice. Model, which is something that pop up, similar to the, if I really want to be honest, it's optional. But you see how this is a pop-up? This is a model, right? Bootstrap also has the model, but it's not very well implemented. Some people quite struggle with it. And message here is similar to your alert in Bootstrap. So it's alert error, alert danger, alert success. That one's really nice because there's just one way to display your message when you first start out. Does this make sense? Later you can make your message, float from here to here, sexy, but it gives you the structure to do your app.
Use it for like notifications and stuff too?
Yeah, and then maybe the notification can be customized so it display at the bottom here, at the top here if you like. But for now, I think the way the Flash messages load is the most common interface on websites. So let's try to do that. When you use a card, notice it's similar to Bootstrap, except the name of some cards are different. You now have card header, card content. So just remember that. That's all. So look for this and read the documentation. Okay. And another thing I like about it is that it, for example, here's the model, and it's very simple. It looks quite nice, and you like, and it's pretty simple content. Also, Bootstrap uses a lot of JavaScript, and in the past, the Rails evening class, they include Bootstrap and run into JavaScript problems. Just the alpha version is not stable, and people make certain mistakes. Well, there's no JavaScript here, so certain time when we need JavaScript, we just add the JavaScript we need. I like that. But CSS, it's quite complete. It's really awesome. Okay, I don't know if you can remember, but pay attention to this anyway. The difference between Bootstrap and Booma documentation is like this. When I use Bootstrap, I mean, there's only one, there are a lot of differences, but when I use Bootstrap, I tend to copy the first block of code. Do you remember that? And then I copy into my layout. And then I start customizing. So what I like about Bootstrap is that it shows you a clear example, and it's enough, but it's not too much. And then you can use it, right? This guy, it gives you something that's like extremely long and complicated. So you definitely don't want to copy this. You always want to try out something simple. You can go back and read the, I kind of hate the layout, it's hard to scroll. So go back to this to understand the structure. Now they explain this better than Bootstrap. They explain this very well. That's good. But the code to copy here, hell no, I'm not going to copy this. Why would I implement something this complicated, right? They're implementing this bar right here. That's insane. So That's for those who are advanced and want to see how things work. I want to just look into it. Okay, what is the minimum amount of code I can use? So here's the example. This example looks good. It just put a logo here, and that's it. So I could copy this, right? You copy that. Or this guy, implement just the burger symbol here. That's nice. So I can copy both. That's the idea, that choose your example to copy carefully. And when you want things to work with JavaScript, it will tell you that, hey, here's a simple JavaScript you can just add. And by doing this, many of you can learn from the way JavaScript is written too. The way Bootstrap does it is that you never learn this kind of thing, right? So it's getting clearer and clearer though. They don't use jQuery. This is very similar to on jQuery. It's pretty much the same. This is for each. You already learned the JavaScript function for each.
How come they use the jQuery symbol? Or does it just look?
It's more like an element. I think it may be jQuery too, huh? They may use something.
That's the clerical variable.
So there is sort of a convention that when you do this, it's like jQuery. It's like you have this element stored in this variable. So a variable name really. So there's no guarantee it has jQuery on it. I don't know yet. Let's see. So in this case, it does have, but some website have a different library that give you the symbol. They all tend to do the same thing, which is like let you select some element here. Good catch though. But this is just JavaScript. The only exception is the length here. That is, yeah, I think it's just JavaScript. Like, look, this is this array is just getting into array. So this guy's getting the first hamburger. Well, I mean the burger element, and then just get the first one, and then check the length. Which means if it's 0, means it's not found. So it's very similar to jQuery, but it's not right here. I think that's it. I'm surprised there's this class list toggle function. Maybe the browser support that. That's pretty cool. I don't know. Okay, I haven't used it before, but that would be pretty cool. Oh damn, it is supported. So what jQuery will be .toggle class. Here will be class list.toggle. You can stick to jQuery way if you want. Like this is the JavaScript way. All good. So navbar. I just teach you one thing with navbar. It will save you a lot of time, which is this part over here is called the nav brand. The part in over here from here to here is called the nav start, and the class over here is called the nav end. That part, beautiful. So Bootstrap is navbar left and navbar right. So just know that there are 3 things you can put here. It's called navbar brand, which is the always top left. Navbar start. If you don't have brand, then this one will be the left. And if you have navbar's end, will be on the right. And it's so much easier inside a navbar because you only have something called a navbar item, and that's it. In Bootstrap, you have navbar, nav link, nav item, and it's like a lot of elements. Okay, so I hope I get you excited with the navbar. I got pretty excited when I implemented it. So I think the rest of it will come naturally. Just note that we have something called a message as well. This one's more than flash messages thing. So it has a header and a content. Normally you probably don't need the content here. Maybe if you need to display an instruction to your user, maybe. But here, my flash message will be this flash message, and then there's a click here to close. Okay? So there are colors, same thing. How do I do different colors? In Bootstrap, you put the same name, alert primary, but here you say message, but then everything is the ease. It's quite nice to use the ease thing everywhere there. Okay, so I'm guessing you can also display a long message this way with the message only part, without the message header. Very similar. I'm guessing there's some JavaScript here. Come on, give me JavaScript. Uh-oh, there's no JavaScript. So you have to do it yourself. The JavaScript to click here to close it. It's actually quite easy. Come on, you use jQuery. If you click on this class close, or delete, for example here, find the parent, which is a message here, and remove that element. How hard is that? It's fun, right? So that's I'll leave it to you. So all right. So that's the first part, which is give you the Booma thing. I hope most of you will use it. If all of you, that's even better. But if you like semantic UI or other things, feel free. I think this one is easier though. I did not want to recommend semantic can get pretty complicated. So here, now let's take a 2-minute break, and I'll walk you through adding friends on this. Okay.